And we are live. Ty Guy, Travis, LordCognito, and Ebontis here on that Friday night, or what does he say? Campfire. Listening.
Nobody can do it like Hog.
Listening to podcasts, doing that Destiny Fire Team chat. Welcome to Fire Team chat.
There you go.
I am Dustin Legary. Yeah, I think I got it. I'm pretty close. So welcome
Nailed
to the show,
it.
guys.
Gold medal. You know,
I'm your host. So unprepared for this. I was making jokes when I was supposed to be doing the intro. So good times.
It's Thursday, by the way, for those who are counting days, but that's fine.
Yeah. Does he say Thursdays? I remember. I don't know. I feel like I hear
Thursday
Friday
evening campfire. Yeah.
Thursday evening campfire. Okay. Yeah. I'm real bad at this. Why they don't let me host any shows. I'm a guest, you know.
What you do, just show up, you got the content, you're the talent, you know, you don't have to worry about this whole procedural stuff.
I appreciate that.
You're dressed like the talent, I'll give you that.
Extremely generous.
How you doing, man? What have you been up
like
to?
The lawyer of the show. Yeah.
Yes, you are legal counsel.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've been reviewing stuff. Finished Lords of the Fallen on Monday. Or not the game. I finished the game a while ago, Friday night, actually. Last Friday. But I finished the review on Monday, and then I've been working on guides and previews. Did a preview of a game I can't talk about yet, but I'm really excited to talk about. And nice. I think my next review is Return to Moria, the Minecraft meets Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah,
there
was one of those Lord of the Rings games that looked kind of cute. Like, could be, you know, cozy, fun, kind of.
Oh, the cozy game. Yeah, the Hobbit one. I don't think that's coming out until...
Okay, that's later. I didn't think that was the same thing. The Moria one, is that Daedalic? That the
yes,
studio?
I think so.
The same one who did Gollum, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
it is that.
That's all I... And I probably don't need to say much else.
And I think they also announced that they're not going to be doing copies before the game comes out.
Oh, well, that's real helpful for what you call reviews. So there's really not going to be an embargo. It's just like game's out. Go ahead.
Game's out. Write the review as soon as you can. I'll probably do a review in progress just to get the word out on my initial impressions as quickly as possible. But yeah, I don't know. Doesn't seem like good news. But you know, never judge a game before you play it. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out.
Yeah. Well, we will get to Lords of the Fallen a little later in the show. I also have another game I want to talk about, Cocoon. Played that one on Saturday.
Cocoon.
I mentioned that on Bitcast, which I got to join you again for. You got to see my face multiple days in a row since I've been spending so much time with Forza. And we can kind of cover all that stuff after Destiny. But for a switch, thought we would actually cover Destiny first, since that's what some of you guys show up here for. Some of you guys just show up to listen to us talk and, you know, thank you for being here for all the chaos that happens in general. But yeah, Destiny did have a, what are we on, 8th week now of Season of the Witch. Iron Banner is live this week. You know, the one thing I actually need to get from Iron Banner, just because it's kind of the only place that has one right now, I would not mind a Strand Fusion Rifle. Just every so often when I'm doing something, it says Strand Surge. I'm like, what do I put in my kinetic slot? I was like, I could put a Fusion Rifle up there if I just played Iron Banner. But that's the only thing that I would go for it from there. Because I don't know if there is another one right now.
I definitely don't have one, so that's actually a good call. Fusion rifles are useful.
Huh. Yeah, it's like Strand Shotgun. I know I got the Raid. You got a fan of the Lords of the Fallen review on IGN. Very nice, very nice.
Thanks, man. Glad to hear it. Yeah, it's good. Fun. We'll talk about that later.
Yep, we'll get to that. So Iron Banner is going on right now. It is Eruption, I believe. I think they almost like changed the game mode on the fly. Like there was something like, and the game mode that was said to be featured is now going to be switched to. I don't no idea what happened or why. I just saw it kind of switched like right when things went live. So if you have been playing Iron Banner, I've been a little busy. I haven't got a chance to do it yet. You're not even a PvP main anymore. So have you played any?
I've not played in the Iron Banner.
Yeah.
I might hop in though. I enjoy a good Destiny PvP now and again. I did play this week. I've been putting in occasional time. I'm trying to do Crotas every week. I'm going to do it tomorrow with the fam, and yeah, I'm trying to play when I can. I know it's a busy year for games, but you know, you got to make room for the staples.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that's always like our staple in the back of it. But do you have any idea how many games you're up to this year for like reviews? I know last year was like 25, right?
It was 25 last year, but
Yeah.
last year I went pretty hard from basically beginning to end. This year I had some bigger reviews that took an entire month. Like I did Diablo, which was like an entire month. I wrote 3 separate reviews for that one. Hogwarts actually wasn't that bad because I finished it in 3 days because of they gave me the code so late. But then like at the beginning of the year, my first review wasn't until like January 30th. Like I missed almost an entire month that first month. I think that was just because there weren't a lot of big games that came out at the very beginning of the year. So
it took a minute, and then the snowball kept going down the hill and getting bigger.
Yeah. So I think I might be behind. I think by the end of the year I might be at like 20 or 21, but I need to look that up.
Well, I would say quantity last year and then quality this year, because like the hours of just the games you reviewed probably wins easily, I would imagine, because like Nerf Legends probably doesn't take nearly as long to review as anything else you just mentioned.
Yeah, this year I definitely took on some of the biggest reviews we did all year, which is nutso.
Brave.
Crazy. I did 3 Souls-likes almost in a row. Remnant 2, Lies of P, and now Lords of the Fallen, like back to back to back.
Yeah.
Which is a good time.
With like 80, 100 hours or 1,000 hours of Starfield in the middle.
1,000 hours of Starfield, and I didn't even review that game. I did a lot of guides for it. So I've definitely made more content this year than I did last year. It's just different types of content. I'm also doing more previews this year than I did last year. So yeah. It's good stuff.
Different time. Yeah, so somewhere in there we always tend to find time and keep up with Destiny. And obviously this week we are post season finale events with the story, with Savathun getting her throat slashed, Xivu Arath being banished from her throne world, and Eris actually not, becoming one of the hive gods and actually just turning back into herself. She gave
George
up power.
Washington. George Washington.
She made the right decision. It is nice, though, kind of in game when you run a couple activities. It's nice to hear Savathun's voice back. You run like an altar or a spire, Savathun's back talking. I'm like, miss her being around. Kind of feel like she could be around as much as she wants, and I just always enjoy her smug discussion.
Fellow smug lord.
Yeah, and you and Savathun would probably get along very well. Somehow you and her would just be sharing a beer, grabbing hurtful, a beverage. That's not hurtful. No one can hurt you. That's the whole point.
That's fair.
21 Eric LA. We'll get to that. We can get to that question a little later. Put a pin in that till we're done with Destiny. But yeah. So when you go into the Imbaru engine this week, we actually had the 3rd level of it open up. So now we have the cunning version, which is the first floor where we're finding the symbols. Second floor was the power, and that's where you were kind of tracking which enemy to shoot in the pathing. And then this one was navigation, which was the new one. And that's how you actually, first time I did it, I got an Ascended Shard. So, a little bonus there for doing that. And that was a little tricky. It took me a second to figure out basically the 4th one. And then I was like, it's just a little bit more movement around the room, but not too bad. Shout out to Jarv. He put out a video. There might be another version or something hidden. Basically, they broke the game, got outside of walls, hopped in places, and there's another room somewhere in that giant space area, but I don't know if we're going to get that. But there is one more secret left. I kind of wanted to ask you on the pacing of this season. We knew, like, before we even got the season, like, hey, you have to go resurrect Savathun. We're like, yep, it's going to take 6-7 weeks. Teddy, I think, said it in chat when he was in here before. It's going to take the whole time. You're going to be running around doing all these different errands. And finally, on the final week, you're going to resurrect her. And then, sure enough, we did. And then we killed her. And then a lot of stuff happened off screen, which multiple people have talked about. Even Bife did
including us.
Yeah, I was like, and us as well. I was listening to Bife talk to Somlab. Had both of those guys on the show. They were kind of talking about just the delivery, trying to give their criticism in a better way. But I think everybody gets that the lore books are okay to put certain things into, but that felt like you just like the director said cut, and then the other rest of the scene they just like didn't get to finish on screen. It was very weird. I would like to see, I hope the episode format when we get post final shape, they said they were going to do more cinematics, and I hope they get to deliver on that one, because this feels like one of those moments where It could have been, should have been one of those. Something like either budget, timing, resources, voice actor. Don't know what the issue was, but felt like something was like, we can't quite do a little more, so nope, never mind. And just go read it in a book. So that was a little weird. But the Imbaru engine now seems like it's complete. There might be something a little else in there. And then, yeah, like that's kind of, I think, where we're at for.
You think maybe end of season setup twist thing in the Imbaru engine?
There has to be something else. There has to be something else going on. Because Savathun is roaming around her throne world. Also did you read the lore book of this week?
I did not.
Oh, it's actually really good. So Saint 14 finally gets his payback for Osiris. So she's flying around the throne world, whatever, then all of a sudden, like a Titan shield out of nowhere just takes her out. And then she falls, and then Imbaru's like, what the hell? And then like Saint 14 kind of comes up and he reses her, and before she can really do anything, he kills her again. And he basically he's like, by the time you're done, you both will leave, but let me do this. And he just kills her over and over and over while she's getting rezzed, and kind of takes out all this frustration on Savathun, because she's got her ghost and she can be resurrected, but that's just him finally getting his payback for what she did to Osiris and everything else that's happened. And then finally, at some point, like after all the events go down, and then finally Saint leaves and they go off and do their thing, he gets back to Osiris, and finally when he's like, what, you were gone longer than I thought you were. And it says he collapsed into his arms. Like he finally got his closure on the whole event. It was actually really nice to see, for one, Savathun can you imagine just like, Rezer, just like absolutely just wail on her over and over and over. And then finally just to come back and finally just like emotionally just let go of everything. Seems kind of, that's one of those.
If he was trying to get even, he should have killed her ghost, right?
Well, he messed with Imbaru a little bit. So he wasn't going to completely kill her, because obviously we know we can't do that yet and all those kind of things, but
don't kill her, just kill her ghost. Yeah. That's what she did. Or that's what her sister did, rather.
Yeah. But I just thought that's kind of one of those, all these little, I know they don't have like an infinite budget to do like cinematics and stuff like that. Oh, that is true. It probably was a little bit of both. The payback I feel like was there, but I forgot about the other part, because when she got resurrected, she was like half sick and felt kind of like wounded and woozy. And he's like, oh, you're not used to being resurrected. Like we get resurrected all the time. We hop right back into combat. She's not used to that. So he was kind of also training her how to deal with it, but probably getting a little too much fun out of it as well. It would have been just a very funny scene to see in like kind of a Inkblot storyboard, one of those kind of cutscenes, just to have it voiced over a little bit and then kind of explained what happened, but also like, she's a new guardian, so to speak, to hear how she's, being resurrected, what it's like when you get, how it feels, and then also just like killing her again, letting her get used to it, and then just I would have liked to have seen a little Inkblot for this one. I think that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah. That's not really the type of story they tend to tell, though. It's always like flashbacks with the Inkblots.
Yeah.
They don't really do like, yeah.
Also, major plot points are more important for that.
If Saint 14 was trying to teach her about getting rezzed, shouldn't he have made her do trials? Let's get Savathun in trials. Let's see her put together a crew of 2 light-bearing hive and try to go flawless one weekend. Would that be crazy if there was an
just
AI
like match
group of
up
guardians? Yeah, he just match up.
That actually would be awesome. I would love to see that. Be like, hey, if you beat Savathun this weekend randomly, you get an emblem or something. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. And if Savathun goes flawless, I don't know.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool. So
that actually would be hilarious to see. I don't know if they don't have AI in Crucible.
Yeah, there's no way, but I'm just saying it would be funny.
But it would be funny to see them like cranked up to.
Your punishment is you have to go to 9 loading screens in a row, reset your ticket.
Our hitbox would be ginormous. That's true. Yeah, you'd probably be able to sniper from pretty far away. Definitely go full snipes. Yeah. That would be funny to see them do that every so often, to integrate a little bit of lore into Crucible, because we've got like Caiatl running Iron Banner now, partially at least. So like, we do have like the 3 turrets that show up, but every so often, like there's 100 Cabal in the match and just your team gets to try and take them out, and they're a little beefy. So it's like, can you do it within the and it's just like a random thing that happens every so often. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of fun to mix up. Like you queue into PvP, you got your match made team of 6, and all of a sudden there's 100 Cabal on the map, and they're just coming at you. And like, what do you do? So then you kind of like have to switch and work together. It'd be an interesting. I'm down because I think it'd be an interesting, just random change of pace, like one in every 1,000 games or something. It's not going to happen that often, but just enough that people realize it's a thing that's out there. What's up, Prescott? How you doing? It's like as we're getting more and more of these allies, you've got Mithrax and we've got Caiatl and Savathun's doing her thing, but I think those would be kind of fun. Preload Lords of Fallen, early access, and a definite early access. So
wouldn't know
the status of that at this point, mostly just because like content creator. So I got mine like a little bit before things went live. I got mine literally like late last night. So I've only played it for a few hours. And then Travis has been playing for review. So he's long done and not even in the same ballpark. So not sure on the preloads yet. But yeah, it's like in the world now we're kind of coming up on the quieter time in Destiny where we have a seasonal event, of course. So
what's next season, by the way? Do we know yet, or is that still a mystery?
I think
we were talking about this last.
Yeah,
we were talking about this last show. We have no idea.
23 seems like a secret. So all we know is Savathun says you have what you need. Whatever the tie-in to go into final shape's going to be. So the story's got to be decent. I just don't know where they're going to take it. It's really, I am pretty clueless until they show us.
Crow season.
I mean, I want to see the alternate universe of that. I still do, with him just looking at the trailer and going, the perfect cut and all that stuff. That was kind of fantastic.
It's going to happen. I have faith. I believe.
But for this season, we have the Festival of the Lost coming up. And not everybody's favorite event. The previous Festival of the Cost is going to be there. We still have haunted sectors. Now, for the first time, they're introducing legend haunted sectors. So higher difficulty. And I'm sure, what do you think? Matchmaking? No matchmaking? No matchmaking?
Probably not.
Because I feel like one of the seasonal events, they do like the legend level strike match made kind of thing on one of them, and I can't remember which one. And that's gone okay. So you have modifiers, you have some champions, but we still end up getting through it, which is usually what my argument's all about. So we'll see, but my hunch would be as it's a 3-person thing that it won't be. But we do have eerie engrams. So you'll be able to crack them open for individual treats. There's a grenade launcher that's coming back, but I don't think grenade launcher is in a great spot, and I think somebody previewed it from data mining before. I don't know if it has amazing perks on it. It's not really like this is not the one to grind for kind of thing. But the eerie engrams also have a chance to be focused into exotics. So you can actually focus eerie engrams into exotics for 2,500 candy and 1 eerie engram.
Candy.
Yep.
I love that we're dealing with candy again as our currency.
Well, so this is candy, and then we've got cookies in about 3 months, right? Is that right?
I just want them to double down. Like I want at the end of the final shape, I want like, all right, guys, we're about to go and fight the witness. The only thing we need is like 5,000 candy. You know what I mean? Like I just want them to incorporate. I want them to incorporate a stupid currency into like a major event where it's like, all right, guys, we got to power up this final blazer to kill the one true evil. And collect some chocolate strange coins, please. Stupid.
Still funny. I'm with you on that. But so randomized Festival Lost weapon is 1 engram and 500 candy. Specific weapon is 1,000 candy. If you want to go for an exotic, and you can pick which slot. You can go arms, legs, helmet, or chest. 2,500 candy. So it's going to take you a while, but if you don't have much else you want to use those eerie engrams for, then throw the candy at those. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out, mostly because of the convoluted nature of when you read this list. So they say special notes about hocus focusing, which somebody's having way too much fun with all the
focusing. Hilarious.
Yep. Players must own the expansion that the exotic armor is tied to in order for it to be eligible to drop from Hocus Focusing. Required expansions for each exotic
Still
armor piece
funny.
are listed below. The Forsaken pack counts toward the Forsaken expansion. Players will not need to have acquired the exotic armor previously for it to be eligible. This means players who are still missing exotic armor have a chance to earn it from Hocus Focusing. Players will only receive exotic armor for the class they are currently playing. And then they literally go through. So the weapons are going to be the heavy, a cosmic grenade launcher. And you've got the Horror Story, Jurassic Green, and Macabre Sniper. Those are all back. And then they go through the list of like exotic arms. And it's like Hunter, 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 Hunter. And then it's like Forsakens this, Beyond Lights this, Witch Queens this. And it just goes through where all of these things can. And if you ever wonder why the new player experience is questionable, just look at this list. And as you go through each class, you have the base, you have Forsaken, Beyond Light, Witch Queen, and Shadowkeep's mentioned in some places, but not others, because apparently we didn't get that many exotics for that one. It's just kind of one of those where I don't know when they're ever going to simplify all this stuff, and it seems like they're long overdue to do it. I would love to. I was like, I don't know what the books are on how many of like the old Forsaken packs and Legacy. Just do one bundle, whatever it may be, and get it done with. I feel like at some point they have got to do that. Maybe with Final Shape they'll do it because it is the end of the Light and Dark saga, and if you want to experience most of what's there, buy it the one time. Just does feel like that's one of those. Just one of those weird systems that I feel like at this point, never or until D3. You're probably not wrong, but I would love for them to prove me wrong. But it is kind of one of those when you just look through it, it's a little much. Are you a Memento fan, Travis?
I am. Of course.
Favorite Memento?
Favorite Memento? The one by Christopher Nolan.
Thank you for that, by the way, since I was in a movie discussion yesterday. I appreciate that. No, that works.
Nice.
Well, you got the Nightfall one. You got Trials, Gambit. Gambit's okay. Nightfall usually looks like garbage, and then Trials is like gold, right? Like they're not even close.
The Vanguard one is a definite no. I actually kind of like Gambit, which is sad because that's definitely the worst one to grind for.
Yeah, I think I put that on one weapon, and then I haven't grinded for another one, so they don't come up often. But we actually get a new Memento. So in this limited time event, we have a new Memento, and it is going to be a black leather kind of look to whatever you want to put whatever weapon you want to put that on. So it's just kind of a clean black look on a weapon. Very simple, sleek aesthetic. I know some people are going to be
for the aspiring Call of Duty player.
Yes, they start in Destiny and then they build their way up to Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
Because Destiny PvP is, well, in the works. So yeah, if you're a Memento person, if you like the dark shader colors, you want to black out your character, this will be actually one of the ways to do that pretty cleanly, actually. We've got a PvP strike team update for Checkmate, spawning, and more. So for Checkmate, they're kind of updating some changes to see for damage. Adaptive hand cannons, which I think are the 140s, will once again 3-tap at any resilience. Rapid fire pulse will 3-burst at 6 resilience. High impact pulse rifles 2-burst at 4 resilience with all crits. Reduced heavy ammo spawn frequency, which that one thing I heard that at feedback at one point. I was like, yeah, heavy ammo feels like it would mess with Checkmate. But as I read through that, doesn't resilience in PvP kind of sound like an outdated thing? I mean, do you feel like normalizing health in PvP? Well, just like at this point, or say you refer maybe like Checkmate honestly, specifically, just like
recovery seems like a bigger problem to me.
Oh, the time it takes to get your health back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that changes, I think, even more is like if somebody can duck behind but honestly, this game has so many like ways to get around that, whether it's like instantly restoring your health by using Crimson or a dodge in a hunter with the Wormhusk crown, and there's just too many things I think that affect it. So I don't know if it matters that much. Like Destiny's PvP is already kind of chaotic and casual in that way.
Yeah. I just know they're having fun with the checkmate mode. I would just be curious if they were just like, everyone has this health in this one mode just to kind of really normalize it. Because, I mean, we've joked about, spec weapons for PvP just to kind of have that really kind of very clean sandbox that's not got broken weapons and broken perks. And if you're not like, hey, let me use a rapid fire pulse rifle, but if you don't have 6 resilience, then, it's like those little nuances where it's like just, if it is all about the gunplay, then build it to be that way for that one mode. Just be curious what it would do. I mean, again, if you mess with resilience, then you got to mess with recovery. Then everybody would just go into mobility, which could be an okay thing in and of itself. I don't know, but it almost just like take away the top 3 stats, like just neutralize those for everybody, make them just the same across the board for those 3 stats, and just really see how it feels. I don't know. I'd just be curious. It's one of those things for me that if you spec into like, oh, I'm using a 3-burst pulse rifle, I love these things. But if you have 6 resilience or 7, you can survive my shot. Little stuff
Maybe
like that kind of takes away from the mode.
Maybe that's for the mode where your abilities are taken away or whatever. Their SWAT equivalent. I don't know what that's called. But my thinking with that is I kind of don't like it when games make an alternate multiplayer mode and the mode is, hey, let's take away everything unique about this game. Like Halo has it with SWAT, where you take all the fun stuff like shields and radar and just get rid of it, and it just becomes Call of Duty. And then, Fortnite did it recently by taking away the building. They're like, hey, let's remove the building from Fortnite. And
I mean, that's the only way I would probably play Fortnite, though. I'll give them that.
I mean, fine, but then you're probably not a Fortnite fan. That's my point.
No, I mean, and that
why take away all the things that make you unique? And so to me, the thing that makes Destiny unique is that there's a ecosystem surrounding the multiplayer that requires you to get involved in other activities and take part in the collection game and min-max your character. And if you take that away, it starts to feel to me like just another shooter. So I think it's fine to have it as an option for people who want to do it, like removing armor stats and normalizing all of the stuff. And I know that there's already mode where they take away abilities and all that, but
I think that's what this one is. This is that one.
Yeah.
Checkmate kind of is more gameplay
focused. It is that one, and that's fine if you I just consolidate it to one, and then I won't play it, because to me that's not why I play Destiny. You know what I mean?
I mean, and that's totally fair.
I'm never going to be the best at that, at the even keel multi. There's already so many imbalances. Everybody's loadout isn't imbalanced. So what's the
I don't know if it was just if they kept it all to checkmate, but normalized stats for everybody. Truly, like, you can do it to all 6. Everybody has, for the bottom 3 stats, you all have 50. The top 3 stats, you all have like whatever that normalizes to. Everybody's the same. I don't know. Just would be curious how it feels. Maybe just one of those like labs tests. I don't know. Thinking outside the box. I'm not a PvP guy at all, so maybe this is stupid, but I don't know. I saw something on Twitter. I think I saw something on Twitter about it. That's just why I brought it.
Clear, my opinion is the minority opinion for sure with Crucible, because all of the top PvP guys are like, oh yeah, take away abilities. But I'm like, why? Then I is the fantasy that I get to play as like a not powerful guardian. You know what I mean? The light has been stripped from me. Like, I just I don't know. It just seems like a weird request, but I get
That's fair. Your dream PvP mode would be movement abilities only. So you have only your movement for each class, but no other abilities, and then guns.
What does movement mean?
So that would be like your double jumps, your dashes, your dodge, that kind of stuff, I think is what they're going for. Yeah, and then we've got the agree with you is like, Destiny is what it is because of all your abilities, because of the space magic and all of those kind of things. So it's like,
I'm not saying
we have Mayhem that leans so far into that one. This is just like every so often.
And Mayhem just feels irresponsible to me. It's like on the other extreme.
I was like, that's one of them. Just like, I was like, let me just blow off a little steam, have absolutely zero care what happens, and just use my super a lot. Cool. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's like Griff Ball in Halo. It's cool that it's there, but it's not really why you come to play.
Yep.
Maybe it is. Maybe you just come to play Griff Ball, but if you do, you're crazy. You're living your life on the seat of your pants.
For matchmaking, they said, speaking of frequent iterative changes, we're continuing to improve our matchmaking system. I feel like I don't know if they're ever going to get this right, and I'm sure it is kind of a moving target, but especially with the population and stuff like that, it probably kind of ebbs and flows a bit. But with the mid-season patch, we are compressing the skill band used for matchmaking in the control playlist. Think of it as reducing the number of divisions in the skill band. The result is that there are more players in each remaining division, therefore more players to match with, yielding quicker matchmaking times while continuing to recognize difference in skill level. With this change, the matchmaking experience for your first match or two will be out of sync as your skill gets remapped. We'll be iterating onto this into the next season. I feel like, I don't know if they're like complicating the issue, because if they have like a bell curve, they even explained it before, it was like negative 1,000 to 1,000. And now what are they going to make it, like negative 100 to 100? And then it's just like less deviations of what it could be, but it's still the number you set it at. Because you could set it to, if you're a high level skill player, then maybe you're 80 to 100 as opposed to 800 to 1,000. Like the fraction doesn't matter in my head. It's how wide the range is for what they're doing. And that is maybe what they're doing. It just sounds weirdly worded.
I think that is what they're doing. And it probably has everything to do with player population. I don't really know anybody from my group who's still playing comp on a regular basis. So.
No, I think comp doesn't have a lot of incentive, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But they do have changes coming to that actually next season. So Crucible playlist reorganization, including a 3v3 rotator. So they reorganized PvP with Nightfall. Was that the reorg? I'm trying to remember when they did that.
What do you mean reorganized PvP?
Like I feel like the playlist setup on the screen, the Crucible director screen, got a rework at some point.
That a whole bunch.
Yeah, so this is just another one, I guess. I can't remember the last one.
The most recent one, I think that's right. You're talking about where they simplified the playlists and they took away a lot of the. I think that might have been the season before Nightfall. Nightfall seems too early for when that happened, but maybe you're right. But yeah, there's definitely fewer than there were, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. For competitive Crucible, they're including competitive weapon focusing, rank adjustment updates, and 3v3 countdown rush. So a couple positive things on Twitter I saw about that. Trials flawed card rewards. Rewards for win streaks less than 7. Trials really is just a shell of what at once hoped it really would be, or isn't it? It's like, it is, you can call it Trials because it has the card attached to it, but what it originally was is not what it is now. It's a different game 9 years later. 9 years later, it's not quite the same game mode.
It's been something else since a long time ago. But
they also say more checkmate modes, Dominion and 3v3 Clash, aka Skirmish. So a couple of those. We are getting a crafting emblem for the crazy game breaking, especially in Crucible when people are using like auto shotties, literally. Kind of a cool emblem. It just looks like the texture. I know it because of the piece of art that I've used for like thumbnails, but it's just all the little different colored squares and stuff kind of symbolized on there. And then last but not least, for all of you who ever grinded out the always on time Sparrow, guess what? Every Sparrow is going to drive that fast now, so you are no longer special. And for those who don't have it,
are they going to aggro fewer shots?
I have a Sparrow that does that. I have a legendary Sparrow that does that, actually.
Damn. Did they give that perk to a bunch of Sparrows?
No, I literally.
That's the reason.
I think it's
the reason
I
use it, right?
I think it's the only other one, because I remember using that on Grasp of Avarice, the Sparrow run. Because I pulled out that legendary Sparrow because of that perk. Because it didn't have the one with the speed, but if I can take less shots. So that is the only other one I know that has that. I don't think it's popular. So
the still legendary one or the exotic one?
The legendary. Well, I mean, just the perk I don't think is popular, but it might just be those two Sparrows. Like, it's still a pretty rare thing to have.
Well, you never know. You hold on to it now, and then maybe they buff it at some point in the future, or they bring it back into the game, and then all of a sudden that Sparrow matters again. But
apparently it has more boosts and more health than others. If that thing has more health, honestly, they should just normalize all the Sparrows. They should be really a skin, but who knows? Other than that, a couple known issues, stuff like that. Not too much. Movies of the week's always kind of fun and goofy. Artists are Very cool. Yeah, so Festival
As
Lost is
always.
coming up next week. Exotic focusing if you want it. I don't really think too much about exotics. I will say legendary shards. Start spinning those where you can. Like if Zur comes in and he's got the exotic engram that you can buy for 97 shards, start buying it every week. May as well. No reason not to. You're never going to spend them all in time. Some people were having other places where you can spend legendary shards. I'll probably do a video on it, but if you have like 40,000 legendary shards, you're not going to be able to go through them all in a
Please
reasonable
tell
way.
me where to spend them. I've got 40K or something like that.
Yeah, I've got a list of a couple things that I was working on.
Because they're just taking them away from you, right? Somebody told me that. They're
Yeah,
like
they're going to be
not
fully gone.
comping us.
You've got raid banners. You could stock up on some of those. Phantasmal fragments for the moon. You could buy some of those, and those you can actually exchange for glimmer. You might be able to get some of those. If you want gunsmith rank to get a few parts, you could dump. Just like go to Devrim K, buy some materials, and break them down, so you can just get gunsmith rank for breaking down materials. If you want to get a couple currencies that way, none of it really seems like fast and fun for those who have way too many. If you got like a couple thousand, you'll probably be able to blow through them. But if you have like 40K, it's gonna be busy. Yeah, buy your prisms, Rahul. Buy your prisms and cores every day.
Yeah. I need to buy a couple more of those. It's
Yeah,
every week, right?
Yeah. So you can buy an Ascendant Alloy, enhancement prisms. Something's like 400, I think it's the Ascendant Alloy. So you can go through some chunks, but if you have as many as you do. But yeah, definitely look into all the ways. I'll probably do a video over that pretty soon. I just kind of want to finalize my list on all of that stuff. But I think that is most of the Destiny talk for the week. So yeah, Festival of the Lost coming next week, and you guys will see a video from me just kind of breaking down any details that you might want to know about that one. But at this point, I feel like we can probably switch over to... Let me talk about Cocoon first. Then we'll get into Lords, because that'll be a much longer discussion.
You seemed pretty hot on it.
Yeah, so when I was on Bitcast, please go watch that episode. I talked about Forza as well. My quick take on Forza, by the way, the driving experience is fantastic. I really enjoy how it feels. And that's just even on controller. I don't have a wheel yet. I'm working on it. I actually almost pulled the trigger last night, but it was sold out. So hopefully sometime soon. Forza feels good, and I feel like the platform of Forza, like the physics and the driving and the cars that are there, are off to a good start. There are some, occasional PC issues and stuff like that, and some of the offering is a bit light to begin. But even somebody like Super GT, which I saw Destin had in one of his videos, which was cool. I've watched some of his stuff on Gran Turismo. He's really enjoying the multiplayer because it incentivizes clean racing.
Yeah.
And that's huge for multiplayer people. So if you're looking for clean racing and you don't want to get into something like iRacing, and you're worried about getting bumped and stuff like that, if you drive clean, your safety rating is going to put you in a place where your races... Now, there's going to be fast people in there, but they are generally pretty respectful in how they go about it. Now, the middle of the back of the pack might be a little messy, but if you kind of work towards the front of the pack, it is... I'm now watching them just have like 3 or 4 laps of just really tight couple switches and clean races, which is really, really nice. So Forza, definitely enjoying the platform. I think long-term for Xbox, because there's no number on the box, they're going to support your Forza for, I say years, but I don't actually think I'm sarcastic in that, because I can see them supporting that for a very long time. Because
Forza Infinite.
I mean, they put 6 years into the groundwork. I mean, the next one of the big courses is the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and it's in spring of 24. It's a 12-mile track, so it's going to take them a while to build, but they're not building that for no reason. This is their platform for Rubbin is Racing. Yes, that is a Days of Thunder quote, so for sure. Nice. Rose and Shingle Creek for GCX. I will be there. I will be there after this man gets married, so looking forward to getting to One Coast, bounce through Texas for a little bit.
I'll be on my honeymoon, bro.
Yeah, well, you'll do that. We'll bounce through Texas for a few days, and then I'm going to fly out there, so. So Cocoon. If you've ever played Inside or Limbo, that is a pair of people who were at Playdead. They split at some point. I don't know what the deal was with the split. One of them
breakup.
Do it. It was messy.
No,
messy breakup.
Lovers quarrel.
Lovers. We're just too good together. We have to do our own thing. Yeah. So Somerville was one of the games from the pair. That one came out a little while back. It's on Game Pass. I think it did okay 7s. I know Cog said the ending's kind of interesting. I still need to play it. It's not crazy long. Again, their games aren't that long, which honestly, I kind of enjoy a short game that's just really good. But Cocoon, the puzzle depth in this game is fan-freaking-tastic. Like, I swear you're playing 5D chess at one point when you're thinking through all the different pieces that are going on, and that's like kind of a sarcastic joke, but it starts very simple. Story is probably a little weird, where all those things are all like, you know, metaphorical and stuff. Like Inside, the end of Inside is just weird. When you get into the end of that game, it's a little messy. But the collector's edition on Inside, I remember that being just a whole. Do you know what I'm talking about with that?
Yep.
Yeah, that was weird. But this one specifically, thinking through these puzzles and the way I had to do it, and one of the first times I had to think about what you were going through. I'm trying not to give too much away. What genre is Cocoon? Basically, it's you have a joystick and you have one interact button, and it is a puzzle. I don't want to say platformer. Yeah, top-down puzzle game.
Top-down puzzle game like Tunic, kind of same vein. Right?
But there's a little bit of combat, I would say. There's a little bit of combat, kind of, yeah, puzzle platformer. Not so much on the platform, kind of puzzle action-y. Best way I can say it. A little bit of puzzle action, top-down.
Puzzle action. Love that. Making a new genre. Puzzle action.
Because there's no platforming. You're never jumping.
Yeah. Aren't there platformers where you don't jump? Where the gimmick is that you can't jump?
There probably are. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I feel like I've heard of that.
I forget what those are called. There's, yeah. But yeah, I think we should just call it a puzzle game.
Yeah, it's a
puzzle exploration.
Yeah, puzzle exploration. But the way it works with the depth of the world that you go into, so you'll kind of walk around and pick up a little orb. Well, they don't tell you at a point where you can like set that down and then you can go into that world. So it starts getting to mess with like the depth, and then nesting a world in a world, and then the interaction of things that happen out here, that happen in there, that happen in there, and then where if you go in here and you pop out to move over here. It's just really, really, really well done. It took me like 4 hours. I beat it in one stream, and I just thought it was a fantastic like little brain stretch puzzle game. I cannot recommend it enough. It's not that long. You know, whether it's 4 hours, takes you a little longer to figure out, 6 hours, like, it's just when you get one of the puzzles and you're like, when the first time the multiple nesting, really, I was like, I have to do that. And when it worked, I was like, damn, that's clever. And then it just kind of kept.
On Game Pass? Is that how you played it?
I bought it actually before it came out, but it is on Game Pass. But I bought it on Steam.
Disco Elysium is great. Everybody should play that game.
Haven't played that. I own it, I'm pretty sure. But and then I think it got like a director's cut with all voice acting, which took it up another level. So that's one of those that's my forever backlog.
Actually, that game was so under the radar when it came out that they actually gave it to me to review, and it was one of my. It was before I was doing a ton of reviews for IGN, so it was like, yeah, let's just give it to this freelancer that we haven't really worked with that much. And then I started to review it, and I realized it was an amazing game. And I told my editor, I was like, yo, I think this game is crazy good. And then he told the team that. He was like, yo, the guy that we put on Disco Elysium, he says it's amazing. And then everyone started playing it. And then they were like, hey, Travis, we're going to cancel your review because it's such a good game. Now we want to put somebody else on it that is more tenured at the company. So they paid me a kill fee, and I never got to review Disco Elysium.
Oh man,
because it was too good at the time. They were like, "Oh, we're not willing."
Later, did you just keep going through it?
Yeah, I finished it. Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was just funny to me that it was such a good game that they were like, we can't let this guy review it. It's too good. Give him Nerf Legends. See how he does with that. Let him chew on that for a little bit.
let him cut his teeth on that one.
Yeah, this was a long time ago because Disco Elysium is pretty old. It was a PC only game like a while back. So I was going to review that game until they found out it was good. Just kind of funny.
Crazy. Yeah, so for me, like it started like I played Limbo first. And I played it on like my iPad on the plane. And then at first I was just playing because I was the middle seat flying from wherever. I don't even remember what I was flying back from. Probably GCX on one of the years because I was by myself. And I was playing in a middle seat. And by the end of the flight, the two people next to me were like kind of like peeking in, trying to help me with the puzzles as we were working through Limbo to like together. And then when I got home, or when the plane landed, I hadn't quite finished it. I literally had to like get home and finish it that night. I couldn't like go to sleep until it was done because it's not that long. So then that one, and then by the time I found that it had been out for a while. So then I eventually got around to streaming Inside. Again, about 4 hours. They have this just like magical window of time. Play through that one. The ending is crazy when you get to it. You go through that one, and that has some weird metaphoric story behind it. I won't ruin that until you've played it.
Does it?
It probably does. I'm sure people have like done some interpretations of it. This one, I will say, like some of those games were like different on the puzzles. This one really stretches your brain, like making you think on the puzzles, the way you work through them. I just really, really enjoy. I can't like recommend it enough, honestly. Like this is a 9 in my head, but honestly, like it's almost a 10. I mean, to me, it's just that good. They're probably like,
well, Inside got a 10, I believe, from Ryan McCaffrey.
I think it did, yeah. So like this one is, this one is right there for me. It's such a good, perfect sized game because it doesn't overstay its welcome just when you feel like it's getting to be like, oh, this is really complicated. And then when you do like this crazy complicated thing and then it's done and you're like, perfect. Like, and it goes out on the highest note it could and it's great. And it's just, I can't recommend it enough. It really is a fantastic, great little experience. Like Steam Deck, take a puzzle game with you, go for it.
Nice.
So that is.
I will play it. It's on my list. Download it and everything.
Yeah, it's like I've played a lot of games this year, but that is just a nice little standout late in the year. All right, we've made it this far. You want to talk about Lords of the Fallen?
Let's do it.
All right, so you obviously got to review Lords of the Fallen. You've been playing it for a little while. I got my code yesterday, pretty much late afternoon. Between everything going on, I've put 4 or 5 hours into it. I think I beat two bosses so far, just the first two. So the bridge, and then the sister with the
that lady.
Pointy hat. Yeah. Okay. So nothing major so far, just the two first boss health bar with name type situations. That's kind of,
so the way they do it is they have like real bosses, which you can usually tell what those are because they have like cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they do boss fights where they're just introducing a new type of elite enemy. And so the first time you see it, it has a health bar, and then almost immediately after you kill it, you just start seeing those guys all the time. And so it's kind of like to like teach you the new elite and introduce you to their attack patterns and stuff. They do have higher like health bars, but like barely. They're honestly not that much harder than the normal enemies you're fighting with the same move sets and all that. So if you fought that first one, I think what is the first one? You said bridge?
First one is the lady on the bridge who like flies back and forth. She's in the trailer with the golden sword.
Caiatl, yeah. So she's an actual boss. But cool. Yeah, so you're super early on.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it so far?
It is very interesting coming from Liza P almost straight into this one because I put like 50 hours in Liza P. It took me a little longer to beat, but
oh wow.
Now it could be 40, 45, 50. There are points where like sometimes I'll leave a game on, go out of the room, watch like movie, football game, come back and be like, crap, I forgot to turn it off kind of thing. So I feel like I did that at least once in a year. So I mean 40, 45, probably closer. I think my time's sitting at 50 because I would just like mess with some random stuff. And I worked on a guide at some point, so I was just like staring at like title screen and opening area. But Liza P's combat was so tight. Like it felt really good. And I think part of that is like the way the parries were. The parries had these big like sparks, the feedback of combat. You hit somebody enough, you'd kind of get that like stagger, but also the way your character would move. Just something about the combat in Liza P is one of the better Souls games I have played in a long time. And I think as you said it in your review that it didn't reinvent anything. And I think that is a totally fair statement. But I will say if you are looking for one of the best Souls games for combat purposes, that is one of the best ones that I think has been released that is not From Software in probably for a long time. Like From Software, I forget who makes Neo. I don't know if it's Bandai Namco, because it was like Neo 1, Neo 2, and Wolong. Neo 1 and Neo 2 were also very good. This is like there. Lies of P was.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason that those games tend to do combat better is because they narrow the focus of the combat and take away options. And so Lies of P is definitely in that school of thought where like they basically tell you what type of character you're going to play, and they give you a couple weapon types, but they control for lots of variables. Sekiro is sort of in the same.
Sekiro's very much that
Sekiro's
way.
even probably more controlled. They very much tell you how it's going to play. And I think the advantage you get from that is that the combat feels a lot tighter and a lot smoother because they've narrowed the scope of the combat. But the thing you lose is the RPG element.
Yeah.
And so it really is just a matter of personal preference. Do you prefer the kind of like chaos and
kind of like Dark Souls
weirdness
where you get builds?
Yeah, I'm more in the school of like I'm okay with the combat being a little looser and a little bit more chaotic if I get to like do something stupid like throw fireballs and fight with a bucket on one hand. And that's what you get to do in Dark Souls and Elden Ring and also Lords of the Fallen. And so I think Lords of the Fallen's combat, especially if you're coming right from Lies of P, will feel less smooth. But considering the fact that you can do a whole bunch of different stuff in this game that you definitely could not do in a game like Lies of P, I think they're really just going for different vibes. Like to me, this Lies of P is like a wannabe Bloodborne, and this game is like a wannabe Dark Souls. It's like very different.
That's totally fair. Focus. And like playing the first boss on the bridge, you kind of get a feel for. Lies of P got to a point where pairing wasn't required, but on some bosses it was really, really, really advantageous. Like there were a couple bosses where like dodging was kind of the way to go for me most of the time, because just some of the timings was a bit much.
And also you can't dodge certain attacks.
Right. Or you perfect parry it if you're going to do that, which is, so you've got that incentive. This one is much more because you can't perfect parry and like avoid losing any health. You're going to have the chip damage, which is the withered health, and you can work some of that back like Bloodborne, but it is more incentivized about dodging. Now, I will say, like, coming from Lies of P, it is the opposite of any enemy density. There are groups. There are a lot more things. It is, as you said, more chaotic in the fighting. The class I started with, which is probably like the worst weapon, I don't know why. I went based on the stats because it had technically the highest. Yep.
The partisan has the worst starting weapon, but it is a very well balanced class, and it gives you the crossbow at the beginning, which is a pretty big advantage.
So it's like I've got a bow. The flail is weird. I just want to get a sword.
It's not the worst starting weapon. The worst starting weapon is the broken bucket.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's like that's the try it. It literally says try at your own risk.
That's the meme class, but
that's the one where people beat the game at level 1 kind of thing. I did that because it started at the highest. It was the most total stats. It was like 48 or 49 versus anything else. Does combat have a good feel to it? From most non-From softwares don't get it right. So it is a different type of combat. It is more Souls combat. The flail is a weird weapon for me to judge on, so I'm kind of curious what Travis says. There are moments when I do a big, like, kind of charged heavy attack, and then I hit him. The thump with the flail and the way they stagger fits. And then there are other times it doesn't quite match up. Like I'll kind of hit them, and then they just like they're going to power through. There's a little bit of inconsistency too. There are moments where it feels right, and there's moments where it doesn't. Now, for me, I'll probably say my piece and I'll let you go. The running is a little comically fast. A little. I don't mind being able to cover ground quickly in a Souls game, because sometimes you're like, I just want to get over there. And when you go from normal run to sprint, it is probably faster than any other game's sprint. Because normally, like, you'll like kind of run or maybe lightly jog, and then when you run, you've got a pretty normal clip. This one is like kind of Terminator running when you're going. It's a little bit faster than it feels as natural, especially with everything you've got on. It feels a little faster.
But I haven't noticed that. Did you mess with the FOV or something?
Haven't touched that. I really haven't. Yeah. It's just
I didn't really feel that.
It's just when you go into sprint mode, you book it. I will just say that. You do book it. So it's like it's not a bad thing to be able to like come, because sometimes you're like, I just want to run by this stuff, and sometimes in Souls games you're like, I got the shortcut open, now I just want to run to it, and you straight up can, which is not all bad. It is just a little, it's like a hair too fast for what I feel like it should be, especially for like a grounded Dark Souls, you know, big swings and stuff. Then when you go into sprint mode, it's like shoo, 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 shoo. It's like a robotic Usain Bolt, like just booking it. Like it's crazy. The combat is more chaotic. You're gonna have a lot more ads. Like in Lies of P, you might have a couple. Like usually there were very few times. There were like 2 instances in Lies of P where I felt like the combat was cheap. And it was usually just a couple of two groups of ranged enemies pissed me off. That was the only thing in the entire game. Outside of that, everything was pretty good. In this one, there's usually a ranged guy over here and a ranged guy over here, and then you got to kind of figure out which one you're working with.
I'll say, I think another way that Lies of P and Lords of the Fallen very much differ is they have the opposite problem in terms of difficulty. Lies of P is super easy when you're out exploring the world, and then you get to boss fights, and the boss fights are like 10 times harder, and you're like, whoa, where did this difficulty come from? And then Lords of the Fallen has really difficult exploration areas that are like packed densely with enemies, especially later on. You'll run into like 8 elite enemies in one room, and you're just like, dude. And then you get to the boss, and the boss is like the easiest thing ever. It's just like so easy to get through it. So they kind of have opposite issues. Like Lords of the Fallen is very fun to explore. The boss fights are cool, but they're super easy. And Lies of P has really tough boss fights, but you basically don't die when you're out exploring the world, or it's very rare because most of the combat out in exploration areas is like you fight 1 or 2 enemies at a time, and that's it, you know? So
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, playing them back to back is definitely a tale of 2 Souls games for, and again, this is probably would be an interesting thing to see, like what meshes with one person probably won't mesh with the other. Now it's like when you're going through the boss fights per se. So you say the boss fights were easier?
Much easier.
Okay. Do you think that detracts from the game? Because typically the boss fights are what are memorable in most of these.
Yes. Yeah, I do. I mean, it's like I think they're like having one of those 2 be easy is kind of disappointing, because I would say the explorable areas in like Lies of P are like the worst part of it. Like you're kind of just ramping up to the next boss fight. And in this one, like the exploring areas and going through that challenge and the cool, unique kind of levels and interesting stuff you're doing is the best part. And then the boss fights kind of feel like underwhelming. Like, all right, well, like because it's not that the boss fights are bad. Some of them are good, and the bosses are really cool. The problem is they're not memorable, not because they're not cool, but because you only fight them once or twice, and then they're dead, and you never see them again. And so it's kind of hard to create a memorable boss if they're on screen for like 6 minutes and that's it. You know what I mean?
I'm not remember like the King of Puppets. I'm gonna remember that guy for a minute.
King of Puppets. I'm gonna remember that guy because he killed me 20 times. You know what I mean? Like that's
way
gonna
more
live
than
with
20.
me.
I can tell you that.
Yeah. But like I'm not going to remember half of the bosses, and in fact I don't remember half the bosses in Lords of the Fallen because I beat them. I think the most I died on any boss was 3 times, or maybe even 2 times.
Well, I mean, your
like
God mode skill, we know you're good at Souls.
No. I mean, I'm good at Souls, but I don't think that's it, because the people I played with had pretty similar experiences as me. Like all the parts where they were like stuck or had a tough time were the exploration areas where they had like 3 elites coming after them, and then the easy parts were the
cube from Remnant 2. Man, that's still so good.
Great game, great boss. That is such a good boss.
I had a couple messages with because I saw Logic was tweeting a little bit about Lords of the Fallen, and I sent him a message on Discord. And man, I don't know where Remnant 2, because I was listening to, I think it might have been talking about Game of the Year type stuff, and like this year is so stacked, like on a stupid level of stacked. Like Starfield isn't even going to be in the Game of the Year discussion for me. And honestly, the more I think about Starfield, the more it's kind of souring, I think, over time, in my opinion. On me.
Oh, 100%.
Like even I think I gave it an 8 in the review, and I think honestly like the 7 would have been the better way to go. Like IG, I mean Dan was fair, but honestly, like if you go watch the Girlfriend review for Starfield, you'll laugh. absolutely just like go watch that video. It's quite funny. But no, Remnant's a fantastic game. Like, I love that game, but I feel like with everything else that's going to come out, we've still got Mario Wonder, we've got Alan Wake 2, we've got Spider-Man coming up in a hot second. Like, Remnant 2, I feel like is going to get forgotten almost. I hope it doesn't, but I feel like it will with everything
It won't be forgotten on my list because it's one of the, I think, 3 games this year I gave a 9.
Yeah.
Diablo 4, Dave the Diver, and Remnant 2.
Dave the Diver, see, I want to see if I can fit in Sea of Stars, because that one definitely is.
I barely started that one. I need to play that as well.
Remnant, somebody's like game of the year. It's like Remnant was really good. Like the choices, the different options as you play through. Hogwarts too. Like Hogwarts was up there. What'd you give that?
Oh yeah, he's right. I did give Hogwarts a 9. He's right. Yeah, good call. I forgot about that.
I feel like Hogwarts.
I'll be honest, that doesn't even feel like this year. I'll be
No.
honest, that feels so long ago.
Hogwarts, I don't even know if it's going to be on people's, like, because somebody was talking about game awards, because it was like 6 last year. So if you got Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom will get nominated 100%.
What was the other one they were probably saying?
Diablo 4 probably.
See, I don't know. Diablo 4 is.
Diablo 4
way
could
down.
get skipped. I'm voted. We have a pool in Bitcast we're betting, and I'm the only one that didn't have Diablo 4 on their list, and everybody's laughing at me, and I'm kind of looking at them like, I don't know, dude. I think it might not.
Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3. I haven't played that.
It'll get nominated. It'll probably win as well. You haven't played it?
No.
Oh, wow.
That's like 150 hours, man. I barely have time for what I'm working
on
right
now. More than that. I'm 60 hours in, and I'm still in Act 1.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know. Yeah. That's going to be like, whenever I sink into that, that's going to be something I almost need to. That's something I need to do, like weekly episodes. Like, log in on Monday nights for Ebontis next episode of Baldur's Gate 3, because that's the only way I'm ever going to like be able to work through it, is have like a consistent schedule. So you're playing that right now. So it was Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3 were like Game Awards Game of the Year. So if there were 6 last year, and maybe they do 6 again, what other 4 do you put on there? It's like Spider-Man 2. I'm really looking forward to that. You had Remnant. You had Hogwarts. You got Mario Wonder. You've got Alan Wake 2.
My thinking on Spider-Man is, my guess is
more of the same. Not bad, but more of the same.
Sequels always have a hard time getting nominated unless they make significant changes, because I from what I've seen of Spider-Man 2, it just looks like it's very close to the game it was, and I don't know if that's going to be enough. So
maybe it tells a great story or something. We'll see, but
yeah, I don't think so.
Final Fantasy 16. I forgot about that.
I wouldn't put it on my list, but yeah, maybe.
I've heard that.
Mortal Kombat 1, I could see getting nominated.
See, it's like this year is crazy. So it's like the fact that I don't know if Remnant. I mean, for action game, Remnant, Liza P, Lords of the Fallen, probably Diablo will be there. But I was like, honestly, I would much rather play probably any of those 3 right now over Diablo in a heartbeat. Like Diablo, I don't have much incentive to go. Like the whole live or the new, like start a new character.
It was a bad game though. You could not have incentive to engage in the live service and still think it was a great game. Like, I don't have an incentive to go back and play Dave the Diver. I'd still say it's a 9.
That's fair. But it was like, if they sold it as like a live service, the end game on that did not do as much as I think it was supposed to be. And I think that was where it fell apart.
Trying to fix that. Yeah, I actually talked to the Diablo 4 dev team last week, and they're, they're adding 5 endgame bosses and doing a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah, so. Season of Blood is 5 days away or something like that. It's not far.
Season of Blood. Yeah, that's why I was interviewing them. We were talking about that season.
So anyway, sorry. Giant tangent back to Lords of the Fallen, trying to at least, but we'll probably have that happen. So for me, when it comes to like combat, it's mostly just because I hate fighting in like cliff sides, because it's always like, how many different ways am I going to fall off a ledge? Like every freaking Souls game.
I will say this. The game overuses the trope of I walk around a corner and a guy tries to push me off the cliff.
Yeah.
And also it overuses the trope of, hey, there's some boxes and there's like a dog hiding behind them. Like, it's like every box in the game has an enemy hiding behind it. Every cliffside has a dude waiting to shove you. And so there's a lot of like cartoon Looney Tunes deaths that you'll have to endure throughout the game, where you just get boinked off.
I definitely got boinked off once.
Yeah. Say it again.
Boink.
Nice. Nice. He got boinked off everyone. He
Yep.
said it himself.
But it's those situations when you're on edges and platforms, and every move you do has like a lunge, and then every move the enemy does also has this like 2-step lunge before the attack starts. It's not like they swing where they are, or they swing and then they get close to you. The regular enemies so far seem to have this like lunge to it. It's weird. Some of them, not all, but it's like, but you also have to, like, your big swing is like step lunge. It's not like do a heavy swing where you're at because you know they're slowly walking to you. You like take 2 steps as you do a heavy lunge. Boink.
Yes.
And I will tell you, the roll is the farthest roll I have ever seen in a Souls game. When you double tap that roll, you are, well, half the time falling off of something, but you roll really, really far. Like it's more, so it's like the mobility is large, but right now I'm in a place where that's very frustrating. Like in the early part where it's kind of going like between some like rock areas and, you know, around a house and different ladders and stuff. I'm like, okay, so it's like moving around. That's okay. Then when I get to the point where my movement has to be precise and then I like double roll and then I'm like flying off the ledge. I'm like a little too far.
Yeah. There's well, just wear heavy armor.
I have squat for armor right now on my guy, so I'll get there, but
wear heavy armor, man.
That might be a way to do it.
Yeah, it has all of the Dark Souls tropes, like, oh, there's an area where you fall off a lot of cliffs.
Yep.
Oh, there's an area where you're in claustrophobic hallways and your sword is scraping the sides of the walls instead of hitting
you can't get a full swing off.
Yeah, you have to do like heavy attacks just to hit somebody.
Is there one that's like completely blacked out? Was that Dark Souls 1?
No, actually, they don't really do a whole lot with darkness, but which is weird because you have a lamp. It would have been like the perfect place to do it. But
it has like 12 other uses, but
they do a lot of cool stuff though. Like you'll get to a part where, you know, there's like a big lake, and the only way you can get by it is you have to go to the darkness realm where the lake is hollowed out, and then you can walk through it. It's got cool stuff. It
seems like with water, that's kind of the way that like. So that was the first time we got to. I'm like, oh, well, I held out the lamp and I walked into the water. I'm like, oh, the water's not there when I'm holding my lamp. Well, I got far enough down holding the lamp. I drowned. So then I had to actually go to the Umbral realm. And I will say, like, conceptually, some of the stuff they're doing, very cool. Like the 2 worlds, I think that is a great way to hide little puzzles and stuff like that. I mean, if you see like a grate, half the time it's not going to be there as soon as you hold up the lamp. So I don't know if it's going to get to be trivial after a while, but I like the idea of when
they make really good use of it, and the puzzles get more complicated, and the way that you have to interact with Umbral gets more complicated, and you start developing meta philosophies. It's got some cool stuff.
Yeah,
further you go.
So that's why I said it's like I'm early, kind of getting a feel for combat. Don't have much different weapons. I have a crossbow that I have for range. What about you? Like, what class did you go with? What were your experiences? Did you throw a bunch of fireballs? Like, what'd you do? How was it?
So I've played every class at least partway through the game at this point. And then I've played 2 of the 4 secret classes that you can also unlock as well. And yeah, I mean, it's classic Dark Souls style of like you pick how you want to play, and there's a lot of different ways to play. You can be like a 2-bladed guy who's fast and dodges and applies status effects like poison and bleed. You can be a crazy berserker with a 2-handed sword and just run in with a bastard sword the size of a child and just cleave somebody in half. I played for my main playthrough, the first playthrough I did, as a Hallowed Knight, which is like the generic sword and board knight that does radiant spells and healing abilities and stuff. So classic sword and board guy. And I mean, the combat is very similar to like a Dark Souls game in that it is maybe less tuned than like a Sekiro, but still a lot of fun and satisfying, and you're taking on groups of enemies and dodging out of the way. Perfect parrying feels really good to me. I think they're changing the sound that perfect parrying makes because it's got a weird like donk noise right now.
There's been a couple of patches.
They've been patching the game for 2 weeks. Actually, what's weird is the menus now look completely different than they did 2 weeks ago when I started playing the game.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
like they added one thing to the UI every single day that I was reviewing. So I was like going, is some of my footage from week 1 like gonna look weird? It's gonna look like I wasn't playing the final game. So yeah, they've been patching it like crazy.
Coming in kind of hot.
It's coming in extremely hot, and that is my main criticism, which I'll get to later. But yeah, it's a really fun game. Playing with co-op, the build crafting is super cool. Once you unlock the blacksmith, and then later you get the ability to add runes, and you start collecting runes and doing some cool stuff with that, and upgrading
your lamp
equipment
has
and
socket, like a socket.
upgrading. Yeah, it has eye sockets for you to put eyeballs in it. It also has
Of course it does.
you can also upgrade its soul flay ability. The soul flay and the lamp is the coolest part of the game. Like, the lamp is good for everything. It's good for combat. You can rip people's souls out and then do a bunch of damage to them while their soul is out. Also, pro tip, you can use the soul flay ability to yank people's souls off the cliff, and then the enemy falls off the cliff and dies. So you can get rid of elites that way. The fact that you can see the umbral plane in your world by taking out your lamp, and then enemies in the umbral plane, if they see you holding out your lamp, they can pull you into the umbral world by
they'll pull you in.
That
happened.
Which is super cool. Like, the whole premise of like the dual realities is super unique and interesting. And then the way that they do like build crafting and exploration, it's just, 80% of the time I was playing that game, I was like, this is awesome. And then the only times I wasn't feeling that way is during boss fights, when I beat them and was kind of like, wow, that was kind of boring. Especially the final boss, by the way. It's maybe the worst boss fight in any Souls game. Definitely the worst final boss I've played in any Souls game. And then
enjoy the journey, not the end.
Yeah, and the journey, not the end. Well, there are 3 endings, and I think the other 2 endings you don't fight that boss. So it could be that I just chose the worst ending in terms of the boss fight. But yeah, it was the other thing that sucks is the game performs really bad. It does not maintain a stable frame rate. I think it has a memory leak issue where the longer you play, it starts getting worse and worse performance, and then you have to eventually like restart your computer and then open it up again. And so yeah, it's got weird performance issues that way. They have been making patches every day since I've had my review copy, and the game is getting more stable, but I don't think it's going to be stable at launch. I think it's probably going to take at least a couple weeks, maybe longer, for them to really fix all the issues, because it is coming in extremely hot, and it just has problems. Multiplayer also has problems with like stability and people getting booted. You get some hard crashes on your game every now and again.
My one multiplayer experience ended with me being booted after I got killed.
Yeah. And then sometimes you'll enter multiplayer and you just like you won't see the enemies moving, and like your game is lagging, and then you'll take damage from an enemy you didn't see, and you're just not sure what's going on because of like net code issues. So yeah, there's just some wonkiness that way. It is a Souls game through and through, including the rough edges. Like, they took that as well. They were like, hey,
FromSoft PC ports, right?
Yeah, let's bring some of that stuff people didn't like in Dark Souls as well. Let's just take the whole package with us. So yeah, it's definitely got some issues there, but still, if you like Souls-like games, it's a great Souls-like game. A lot of fun, really unique, multi-realm faring idea, and it's yeah, it was a good time. I'm probably going to be playing it again here on console. I got
Have
a console
you heard
code,
from anybody else playing it how console is? Because PS5 reviews...
console runs terribly.
Okay, I heard. Yeah.
It runs as bad or worse than on PC, but I mean, I'm running a 4090 and a Ryzen 9 7950X at 3D.
Top AMD rig,
so
basically. Yeah,
I've literally got top AMD, and my system was, I think I had a hardware monitor open, and it was using like 20 to 30% of my CPU and GPU, and it was still chugging.
That's one of those things about the multi-core CPUs for a lot of games, because I'm the same way. Like, I have the 5950X, and it's a 16-core, 32-thread processor, and it's like, they don't build them for that yet. They're still kind of catching up in the whole multi-core and stuff, and it works that consoles have like 8 cores and multi-threading and stuff like that now, so they're kind of getting there, but yeah, taking advantage of the hardware that's available. I know they have to build, but like, they haven't quite figured out the multi-core scaling yet, because a lot of times they can find a way to use your GPU, but your CPU is kind of chilling.
Yeah, my CPU was chilling, and honestly, my GPU was chilling most of the time. And even so, the frame rate wasn't stable. Sometimes I would see the GPU usage go down to 0% during frame rate lag. So I was like,
probably why.
It's just giving up. It's not using any of my GPU. I'm very confused. So And then sometimes I would see it do the opposite, where the frame rate would lag, and I'd look back at the analytics, and I would see that it went up to 100% usage for like half a second. And I'm like, what? What is happening? It's so confusing.
Strange.
So clearly they're having trouble with optimization on PC and console. So if you're not in a rush, if you're still chilling playing Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, I say finish it.
Played.
Yeah, I say finish that stuff and pick this up a little bit later, because it'll probably be a 9 out of 10 in like a month would be my guess.
Yeah,
You
if
know?
they can polish
I don't know if
they
could. I don't know if they could fix the boss fights thing, but if they can fix the performance, honestly, the performance was my main complaint. It just doesn't run well.
Yeah. So fun journey. Boss fights may not be the best. Unique stuff with the lamp. Combat is a little chaotic, but definitely Souls-like. You've got
chaotic but fun. I mean, you get to try new things. You can be a character class that summons pillars of fire and covers the level in lava, and just stupid junk like that. So it's pretty cool, man. I really prefer the RPG Souls likes. Like, I love Lies of P in those types of games, because you just get such a I have every achievement in Sekiro. Like, clearly I love those games, but there's something about just like embracing the chaos, and it just feels more fun to me, and like more gamey,
I mean, it definitely opens up for more replayability. It's like when you beat Lies of P, you go through New Game Plus with a new weapon and probably smash it and just get the other ending.
Oh, that's another thing. I didn't really get to talk about this in my review, but the New Game Plus is fantastic.
In Lords?
New Game Plus in Lords of the Fallen adds a whole bunch of stuff, including a new skill tree that you can build into. It's like a whole new mechanic that adds in New Game Plus. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Okay, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I talk about that in my written review. I don't think it made it to the video, but because we have to cut a bunch of stuff for the video. But yeah, the New Game Plus is like great. Like, they actually worked on it, and it also has New Game Plus, so you can play through the game 3 times with a single character, and they add stuff to each one. They add like additional enemies and tweaks in the gameplay, and obviously the skill tree that you can start to level up is also kind of amazing.
That's crazy to me. The base skill tree is in New Game
Plus. Yeah, it's locked behind those who are playing the second playthrough. And then it's also cool that you can unlock 4 secret character classes, because those don't really come in handy on New Game Plus and New Game Plus, because you can't choose a new character class. You have to bring your old one. But it's cool that you can play the game over and like go in with a certain like meta and build in mind. So like, one of the classes I unlocked was called the Radiant Purifier, and if you start the game with it, you get 3 spells right off the bat, and you have hella mana, and so you're just like a mana god who's like running around in holy robes and like casting all this radiant magic everywhere, and you get it for one of the endings in the game, which is kind of funny. So it's cool.
Well, sounds like working through the
there's also secrets.
Secret boss fights,
secret endings.
They would be stupid not to have secrets. With the lamp, there better be a butt ton of secrets, because the lamp is the perfect tool to hide stuff everywhere.
Which is something that not all Souls games get right. Like Lies of P doesn't really have any exploration or optional areas.
No, that is very linear. That one was for sure. Like that's why it's like the combat was good, but it was very linear. Yeah.
So I think that is that's the benefit of a game like this, a little more chaotic. Honestly, if the boss fights were a little bit tougher or more memorable, I think it, and if the performance were better, it would be an easy 9.
Nice.
Just has some issues, but you can put up with occasionally your frame rate's hitching up, maybe you getting hit when you shouldn't have because the frame's jammed up at the wrong time. I highly recommend it. It's a good use of your time. And also you can invade people and get invaded by. So I had 3 review codes, and the game is only 2 players. So the third person I gave a code to was just invading us while we were trying to go through the game. They were just our designated invader, just to invade over and over and over again and try to kill us. And it's just fun, man. It's just stupid fun.
Yeah, it does have co-op too. I heard it was pretty seamless, just like
co-op's pretty good. And it doesn't do that annoying thing where when you beat a boss, it kicks them out of your world. You can just stay in the world the whole game. Like, you can join their party once at the beginning and go all the way through the game with them.
Now, one thing I heard from a review, I can't remember who it was. I've watched a couple. The loot for the secondary player, is that the same, or are they missing some stuff? Are they getting the same?
They don't
even like
get
ground
any
pickups?
They get ground pickups and stuff that drops off of enemies, but they don't, and they also get rewards for boss fights, including vestige seeds, which are super useful.
Yeah.
But you do not get any drops from the world. You can't pick up items from the world.
That's
so
what it was. Okay.
It's not
Because
as
there are some like
it's not,
bespoke.
it doesn't have full parity like Remnant 2, where you literally get everything that the host player gets. You have to go back and do that stuff in your world.
Gotcha.
You do get a lot of free XP though, and you cannot lose your souls ever.
What, in
Like
co-op?
if you're the visitor and you
Oh.
die, you will not lose your souls. And so if you
Oh, so
play
you're just
with
like
your friend
leveling up, like
yeah, if you play with your friend for a couple hours, like that's just cream, dude. You're stacking piles of souls up to buy stuff or level your character. So it's a
nice.
good way to just farm for things. Is just play with a
So if
friend.
you just go, you're like, I just need to go assist people for a little while. It's just pure benefit,
Yep.
basically.
Pure
That's not-
benefit, no downside. Get to stack up souls, and then you can. It's especially good if you're starting to feel like an area is way above your level and you're not able to compete. You can just go into somebody else's world and farm materials and get free souls without any risk to yourself. So, also the multiplayer is a little imbalanced. Like you can resurrect your teammate as many times as you want, and every time you res them, when they die, they come back with all of their flasks fully recharged and all their mana back and all their consumable items as if they just spawned. And you can do it infinitely, including during boss fights. So if you're in a boss fight and they use all their flasks and they get killed, you can just go over to their ghost and res them, and they come back with all their flasks, full health, full mana.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it kind of makes
I
the
feel like
boss fights
that's
a joke if you play with friends. It's kind of silly. So
yeah, I was like, you said the boss fights were easy, so it sounds like if you do co-op, you're going to
with
be having
friends, it's like it's a joke.
You're not
And
gonna.
honestly, even some of the levels, like once you learn that your co-op teammate can be rezzed infinitely, you can just send them on suicide runs to go kill things, and then when they die, just res them, and then they have all their stuff back.
You go take
Like,
you're going to put a lot of chip
Yeah.
damage on this guy and sacrifice your body,
Yeah.
and then when
Yeah.
he's almost dead, I'll come in and finish him up and go grab you.
So yeah, there's some like balance stuff. I don't recommend playing it in co-op unless you're just wanting to have a good time and not a challenge. Like I didn't play it in co-op most of the time, but when you do, it's pretty like lopsided. It completely ruins the balance of the game.
Right. Apparently some of these files are really big. Hold on. All right, podcast was literally recording and about to like run out of space.
Oh no.
Oh, we're good. Just because like when I record some of these files for like Lords of the Fallen, because I record them in like 4K. So when I play through, it's like, oh, I've got no space left. So deal with that later. So we're good for the moment. So I just wanted to make sure. Sorry, you were finishing up that statement. I saw it like it was getting down to like, you don't have much room left. I'm like, I should have plenty, but I forget how big some of those files get. Yeah, well, it sounds like it's a good one. Or a great one, at least in your eyes, if you can get past the technical. So right now, you know, if you don't jump in right now and you're in the middle of something else, you'd probably be good in, you know, a few more patches. Yeah, I was like, even since I've got my code, I've seen 2 patches, and that was like last night and this afternoon. So they are working on it and probably will be. And I think conceptually it's cool. Like the world, the detail, you can see UE5, like the
way better than 2014 Lords of the Fallen. Like way better.
Oh, I mean, yeah, those aren't even
night and day.
Not even comparable, really. But yeah, it's like when you look through the detail, just even that opening right before you get to the fight against Pieta or whatever her name is, just the texture on like the building and the spire and stuff that's around you there. You're seeing UE5 put in some work, which may be part of why it takes a little bit to, you know, still getting used to a new engine, but it does bring some very nice detail to the game when you're running through. It's not like the prettiest game you've ever seen. It's not Cyberpunk. That's still gorgeous as all get out, but it's very cool. But I think like the lamp is not a novelty. It is used in a lot of places. And I think, as you said, it's going to get even more beneficial when you level it up. And there's stuff that we don't even know. Like New Game Plus having a skill tree that I couldn't have even told you existed. That's about all I got though. Do you have anything else?
Nah. Keep it short. I mean, we got a lot of games to play, and apparently I have to get a fusion rifle from Iron Banner. So
I'll see if I get that thing done. If I get the Iron Banner done before reset. I don't know. I don't think this can't be the last Iron Banner. This is got to be second one for this season.
Probably right.
Yeah, there's got to
be
a
ways
one more.
away.
Yep.
Usually they cram them all together in between the seasonal events.
Yeah. Yeah, pre-seasonal event, we'll have like 3 weeks, and then post-seasonal event, probably have another one. And then wrap up the season. I think our season, when is it? November 28th. It's like right after Thanksgiving, I think, is when the new season starts. So we've got a ways. We've got like 6 weeks or something like that. So. Well, chat, I think we will wrap this one up here. I know it was just the two of us tonight, some Destiny, some other. But thank you guys for being here. Travis, of course, thank you for your time. I don't know if you can say what you got working, or I don't think you
Yeah,
can,
I mean,
or some of it maybe.
I've got the review for Turn to Moria, which I think I'm getting the code after the game comes out, which is next week. So that's not great, but it's happening. And then I've got a preview I really want to tell folks about, but I cannot talk about it until October 17th. So look for a preview then. It's a game I'm very excited about. I want to tell you what platform it's on too, but that's kind of a clue. So yeah, I'll have more to talk about in the near future. And then I think I'm going to be on Podcast Beyond again with the PlayStation boys, Brian and Max, to talk about Lords of the Fallen. I think their next couple episodes are about Spider-Man, so it'll probably be sometime after that during the Halloween window. But excited to be back on that show and hang out with those guys because they're the best. So
it's like they always look like I've seen them off and on for God, I swear a decade or more now. But it's like they look like they just have a blast. Those two look.
They do. They're just best friends who hang out together and they love their jobs because their jobs are just hang out and talk about nerd culture. And it's like, dude, to be them for a day, dude. They've just got
they got a pretty good gig going.
They really do.
How long have they been there?
They've been there. Max I was at IGN before Max in 2013, but Brian was there before me because my first day, the CEO of Ziff Davis introduced me to Brian, and at the time, Greg Miller was sitting next to him, and Colin Moriarty a couple feet away from him. So, yeah, Brian's been there for a long time.
Yeah,
a long time.
Well, chat, thank you. Travis, thank you. You guys know me. I'll stream what I can, when I can, depending on what I'm doing this weekend. But yeah, if I'm streaming anything, it's probably going to be Lords of the Fallen. Still playing a lot of Forza, seeing if steering wheels come back in stock. And then other than that, yeah, got a couple things on the horizon as well. So thank you guys very much. Episode number 268. We're 32 away from 300. So I know that's 32 weeks. It'll be next year, but we're getting there. I'm very sore. I've been working at the last 4 days. So, all right. So for episode number 268, it has been the last word.